off and
Right.
running. Today is,
That's the longest.
today's work session, June 21st, 2018. We can stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag and Diane, where is she?
All right, we'll start off today's meeting. The first, discussion item is, 6,333 Realty, about future cross access road in Wading River. Mr. Cuddy, if you wanna come. Hi, how are you?
Morning, Counselor, how are you? Get a eraser out of it.
Looks like a big box.
And actually,
It's a big file.
Probably had to dust the cobwebs off of it.
Okay, it's always good to be prepared. We're just gonna have you introduce yourselves because we're on,
okay,
TV?
Charles Cuddy, attorney with an office at 445 Griffin Avenue, Riverhead, New York.
Richard Searles, architect, office Wading River, New York.
okay?
Jefferson Murphy, Building and Planning Administrator.
And then we have
Bob
Bob.
Goes Downturn.
Thank you very much.
You can lay this out, this may
Nobody cares
easy
who we
way
are.
of looking at it.
What was that?
Nobody cares who we
Oh,
are.
yeah.
We care.
Yeah, it's, you know what, the microphone, it just gets scratchy then.
Do me a favor,
Yeah.
put that in your budget.
To move this one?
You just put drop down mics.
Because
Every time.
even watching on TV, that's all you get is,
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
you don't really get the true picture.
Meeting with drop down.
Not a good idea.
all right.
So let's talk about how
Okay.
long this application has been pending.
5.5 years.
Yeah,
No,
ridiculous.
No,
Where
longer
you
than
been?
that.
nah, it's gotta be
And
longer.
my
I
book,
started it 9 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
preceded me.
We are
Wow.
we are 7 years in the planning.
Ridiculous.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Well, you know, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Your little government, that's pretty fast.
all right.
This is
We'll fasten our
25A in Wading
seatbelts.
River,
Okay,
and this is McDonald's,
okay,
okay? And these are the lots that are on the subdivision that was done 35 years ago in 1983.
okay.
And the proposal at that time was to have an area easement road 24 feet wide, 35 feet back from the road. Didn't make a lot of planning sense even then, but it makes less planning sense now, cause we all have cross easements to go back and forth. And if you look at it, if you come across this way, along 25, and then have somebody come in, you're actually having cars
this
come
one
at right angles.
Yeah,
Right, and it would be a speedway going through, cutting
I
through
see
a
it.
McDonald's.
I've seen
And
it for the last
McDonald's has
7
already
years.
taken this
I'm ready to
out
vote.
because
This
McDonald's
is already gone.
it's already out
It's
there.
ridiculous.
And so
Well, I
it
think the
didn't- it didn't make
easement is
sense.
still there.
The easement's
Well,
there,
it's there,
on,
but they're not using it.
Right.
This is all landscape. They've, developed some sort of a secondary access to McDonald's from here, and that goes back and ties in and comes out on the other side.
Right, this is.
Just Larry, there's a lot of feedback.
It was based on the 1989 study that was done for Wading River, which asked for a frontage road along 25A to mitigate traffic and put a light at Dogwood Lane to cross over to the south, from the north side of Dogwood to the south side of
This is
Dogwood.
the original.
Right, the
Right.
original. And
But
then that got
That road
changed
was
and
in the
then,
middle of the property.
hold on.
That's correct.
So that has been abandoned since, because that road, based on site plans that have been previously approved, such as the McDonald's and Maze Farm, which is blocking the road from going through out to Wading River Road, that road will never get built.
Well, and Richard's right, that road actually bisected the entire property.
It did.
Wasn't,
Right.
History-wise, I sat on the steering committee for the Wading River Hamlet study when it was done. And we identified this issue years ago. And back in the day, when we did this, we were proposing a light here
At Dogwood.
at Dogwood or slightly past Dogwood, because the funeral home is here. That would generate an interior road, okay? And this was the whole game plan, because this never comes out, and I did it firsthand, so what I'm telling you is what we did. We came in this direction, we came down through the center of the property, and we came out over here onto Wading River Manorville Road. The proposal was to build that road about 70 feet wide, and we were going to create something very similar to downtown Southampton. Now, the problem we have here is you have these lots that are 100-foot wide, 500-foot deep. They're very difficult to develop. Shopping centers that are developed long ways on these properties have a directory sign. there's no identification to them, whatever. So in our planning, we said, okay, if we were to split this down the middle, each of these property owners would get a building on either side of the road. Gonna build a road wide enough with diagonal parking, so there was no need for site plan. The town was going to build that road, set it up for them, and they were going to pay it back on a per linear foot basis of, in lieu of site work.
Right.
So once the road was put in, it was done. I spent countless hours with Lee Young, a landscape architect, doing a streetscape for this, with lawn furniture, with lighting, the whole 9 yards. It was all approved, it was all done, everything was great going on. The first guy that comes in was Charlie Kretschner with his Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. Joe Janowski was the super at that time. I said to Joe, Joe, we gotta put the road in. He goes, what do you mean? I says, we got a site plan coming in here, and if we don't put the road in, he doesn't have access to his building. So he said, we have no money to build a road. So that's where that fell apart. Then Artie Kretschmer, I believe, at that point, brought a lawsuit against the town and was able to get a curb cut, which what we were trying to avoid, off of here. And Joe said, well, we'll have to give everybody temporary curb cuts. I says, if you give a temporary curb cut, they're gonna build a building facing 25A. The whole back of this thing, we're right back to where we started from. We spent thousands of dollars and God knows countless hours doing this. It all fell apart. So at that point, somewhere during the line, which I had no involvement with, this easement got placed up in the front and wrapped around over here, which really makes no sense.
Well,
You have only a few feet between basically a road and a road. So anybody that's moving in across that has to cross that easement. So now you have not only an intersection here, you have an intersection 25 feet inside coming through these properties.
well, you
Right, I
would,
could see if it was residential, but.
but you wouldn't have any curb cuts on here, this road, correct?
There already are curb
There
cuts
are.
there.
There are already
Right, but you
there.
can make the curb cuts on the other side of this road, so this could be a straight lane in, and the curb cuts come off of here to each property.
Then this becomes a road.
Well, it becomes access to all the stores instead of
Right,
turning off the
but
main
you-
road.
Yeah, but you're gonna come in here and you're gonna create that speedway to come back out over here.
It's creating a service, we're creating a service road.
It's a service road, yeah, it's a service road.
But what's it servicing?
Well, it would service all these lots.
Well, these lots are all
It's
one.
one.
Around that
This
lake.
is all one.
And there's one building being
And this-
proposed there,
and ours is this one.
or two.
So this is gonna have one access, I believe, to it in Venetia, right? We're only asking for one. Bernie already has his. There's one here and McDonald's is all done. So we're only talking about 3 curb cuts.
But two are already existing.
So you
Yeah.
say you wanna give us all this to widen the road?
Excuse me?
I said,
good
you
would
wanna give
that
us all
do?
that to widen the road?
What good would that do? You'd run right into Bernie Mae's lot.
No, into
Yeah,
the-
and again,
He's not giving you an easement to get over his lot, he's already said that.
Well, the easement, okay, I thought the easement runs all the way.
It's shown all the way.
It's
When
shown all the
that-
way.
It's on his lot.
and even if it's shown, if he's not going to build it out, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
And if you look at his business right now, he uses all of this for parking.
That's where the cars.
That's where all his cars are. You know, it's not even a developed site plan, because he's got agricultural use, I guess, which is not requiring them to improve it. So it's just a large gravel area back out in here.
And then you have the real estate office over there too, that
The real
is,
estate- The real estate office is here.
and that's pre-existing, and she has no intentions of redeveloping a site plan for that
Well,
undersized lot.
if they did, and you put this across here, her parking lot's gone.
Right,
So now she's got a building with no parking lot, but a
Well, the
roadway
parking
that
lot be
goes through.
behind it.
No, I don't think you
Doesn't
can
have any
get it
room.
behind it.
That's this lot here?
Who drew this orange line?
I did.
Okay.
that shows the easement
Does-
area.
does it- You had an orange crayon or something, or it makes sense?
What is this?
No, that is the actual easement location, and I put it on the aerial so
It's
that.
35 feet?
Yep.
This whole easement idea stopped working when McDonald's was built, and the McDonald's site plan didn't have to conform to the easement that was that was placed, or that was proposed through the study.
Yeah, and I have a picture of actually where the McDonald's is located, where the easement would go, and would.
Right,
There's
so there's no,
There's another
connection.
component to this, okay, which actually has worked with McDonald's and Walgreens. That if you go into the Hamlet study and you go into the design guidelines for the CR zone, they don't want parking in the front of these stores. They want it landscaped. So now we're going to take and put a parking lot or a roadway where we're trying to keep it nice, we can put street trees back up in there, we can dress that up, we can keep a nice green area between the road and the buildings. We put a road through that, that's gonna, something else is gonna have to be maintained, taken care of.
Well, the front of it would still have to be, the landscaping would just be back 35 feet, or whatever the easement is, correct? That's where it would start, the landscaping.
Yeah, but the purpose was not to have the paving or the asphalt in the front yard on 25A.
Also, you
What was
actually,
the purpose, okay,
you achieve the same result by having cross-access, which
Yes.
is what the town does all the time now.
On
Every
our site
commercial
plan.
use
you
requires
say?
cross-access easements.
And
So
which would
all-
work.
You would have them here, and you'd have the same benefit that you're trying to get.
Right, so if you look at the McDonald's site plan, right now where the cross-access would be, it's a wooded area. It's landscape, it's trees.
Yep.
So there's no getting through unless McDonald's comes back in for another site plan.
You would have
And-
to navigate your way through McDonald's and
Right.
Walgreens parking lot to get to Wing River Manor Road.
Right, and then you're gonna hit a wall, which is Bernie Mae's farm, and rightfully so, because he's actively farming that property and doesn't have any, from what I'm being told, is not coming in for any site plan anytime soon.
I don't know,
If
I would assume not, he's
And then
perfectly
and then
content
once
with
you
what
get
he has.
past him, then you have the real estate office.
Correct.
but the real estate office isn't in the easement, correct, or that's the one that is in the
The
easement?
easement, the parking lot's in the easement.
Yeah.
The
Their
parking
Their
lot.
parking lot would go. Our site plan, this is Venetia, we're giving him the roadway across here with the curb cut at this point. He can
Just
connect,
where's the, just give me the orientation.
Venetia's here, this
Okay.
is us, this is, 25A, McDonald's is on the corner down here. We can give him cross-access easement across this entire parcel on this side, so he could do multiple, if they wanna connect, he can connect everything into here. And the way we've laid this out, we have a future building in the front.
So you're which lot here? Cause
Here,
I think I'm
so
looking
we
at it
are
backwards
on
here,
this one here.
on this one here, you're
With this
talking
lot right
about
here.
this lot here?
McDonald's on the corner,
Where are we?
real estate,
6411.
That's
This
what I'm
is
saying,
where
I'm
we-
looking
this
at
is
it
where we are.
backwards.
and then
This
right
is the
here.
piece.
So you're talking about this, and where are you looking to put the easement?
Well, this is Venetia's property, all of these are
That's-
joined together.
That's
Right.
Mae's farm?
No, this is May's farm right here. He farms all of this, you can see the farm and it comes all the
Oh,
way
yeah,
back up
I
into this
see.
front. You
Okay.
can see where he parks here. This is the real estate, it's all the way to the back, so there's no place for them to put their parking. This easement would take their parking lot away from them. And I don't know exactly how it ties into McDonald's, I guess it ties over here in this
Well,
corner.
yeah, it should've come all the way this way, back and right,
But
but
this
it's
is,
not.
this is gonna destroy the real estate office. He has no, if he has no intentions, or when he does have intentions, he's gonna have to get a site plan approved, he's gonna have to agree to tie into cross-access easements. And we're gonna give you 3 of them on this
But show me where the, so it's this,
parcel right here,
yeah, so,
okay, is this parcel right here.
okay, okay,
Okay?
alright,
So what we're looking at here is an access here. We're gonna bring our driveway on the west side of our property, all the way back to this building. So it's going all the way back. Venetia can tie in anywhere along that line, from here to here, with his cross-access easements to get into this driveway. We can align them with this, we can
but why would,
offset them.
but they're gonna ask for all curb cuts here too, for Venetia, right? How many curb cuts did they
No,
ask?
one.
They're just asking for one?
Am I correct?
That's right.
Just one.
They
Is
just
this
need
gonna
one.
be a shared curb cut here for the two centers, can that happen?
Well, it will be shared if we have cross-access easement.
No, but one for the whole center, for
No, there'll
your
be
lot and the
there'll be
next
one
lot.
further to the
If you're
west,
giving up
but-
this easement here, can you have one to go in for the whole area? How many curb cuts are they looking to do for this plot here, the large plot?
Venetia would be one traffic signal at the west
And
by
it's
the
gonna have a
funeral
side
home.
traffic system.
Okay, so they're looking for, they'd have an access there,
And then one with, if needed, with, with what Rick is proposing.
so they'd put whatever this, how big is this easement here?
This is 25 foot wide.
Right, are they willing to put another 25 foot over here, so you have a full access to both areas there, that's what I'm saying. I'm just
What
trying to
would-
make less turnoffs from the main road,
Well,
from 25.
That would give another one.
No, it'd be
No,
one.
he's looking, what Laura's saying is, if we just had, if we needed another lane, we just have, he provide half of it and you would provide half.
The easements that would be the
Overlap.
entrance to the whole center.
You just
This
have
whole
one.
parcel and your
But
center.
then you want the traffic light down here.
We don't know, I mean,
Well,
that
no,
would have
you'd
to be
probably have to
evaluated.
do both. you'd have to do it at both ends, not a traffic light, but you'd have,
We would have to look at both Venetia and what Rick is proposing.
Yeah,
together.
right, right.
you understand what I'm
think-
saying, right?
Yeah, but I
I
think you're
understand, I
adding
don't think
another,
it's
you're adding
necessary.
another curb cut. I think if we can use the one with the signalized intersection here to service the large parcel, okay, then everybody's good, this is, let's look at use, and I know use changes. This is gonna be heavily used.
Correct.
I'm not certain who the tenants are or what he's got in here, whatever. Okay. No. We're proposing an animal hospital, which is gonna generate little or no traffic whatsoever. People are gonna drop their dog off if they're sick, pick a dog up. How many traffic stops do you think you'd have a day? How many people come in, how many people go out? 15?
Oh, we gotta get that more than that.
Okay,
We'll
so
double that.
even if you went to 20, 25,
And what's
You gotta
the
get
back?
at least 30 a day.
this is the animal hospital.
And what's this?
This is proposed in the future.
Oh, so it's just one building in the back?
One building in the back right now.
And that's what was asked for. Through this process of this long process of 9 years was, put the building here, and now the building's there, but it's in the easement area, so now
This
that's.
building.
Yeah, front building, so it's.
And to pull the building back, put the easement through, we would wanna put the
Crazy.
parking over here and move it back and put the parking up there, but
Crazy.
that's not what
It's-
we want. We really don't wanna see parking in the front of the building.
No,
No.
the
Trying
design
to
doesn't
keep
fit
it
today's,
much nice- much-
especially since they melded all those properties, it doesn't make sense.
Well, the easement in the front can also just stay green. Right?
Building
I
is in
mean-
the easement,
But that's what I'm saying, if you don't put the building in the easement, you put it back, and this just is green up here.
and you lose the
But
parking.
He needs the
We lose
parking.
parking.
You're gonna get a fight for the DC anyway.
I mean,
don't
you
think-
retain green space on a rural, a rural corridor
He
road.
would need
They-
to have the
this-
parking to comply.
What was that?
He needs the parking to comply with the code.
There's landscaping in the front, isn't there?
This is gonna be landscaped in the
Yeah.
front, yeah.
How big is that?
Well, it's 30 feet back to this corner.
Right,
So
but
it's-
normally, if you had kept the easement, how far back would it be?
Well, 30 plus another 25.
The easement's 35.
Or
Right,
another
so you,
60 feet.
you'd be back 60 feet of
35.
green space.
No,
But no, you'd have to build the road.
because the road would be there.
Right.
It only goes back 35 feet, then there's a 24-foot road. So you're talking 35 feet, this distance right
So, I understand what Supervisor's saying. If we pull the building back, we can leave it green.
Correct.
What's the purpose of having an easement if it's not gonna be
For
used?
future use, because we don't know what the future development is gonna be, you know,
Well, we
is this
do.
road
It's
ever gonna
done.
gonna be widened? Well, you don't know what's happening over on Dogwood, you don't know what's happening further down, so, I mean, this is a main traffic thoroughfare, right? So, I mean, the same as we have over on like 25 and Edwards Avenue now, where it's congested. You know, and how do we relieve that congestion? We're having to take back, try and take back part of the roads to make the intersections better, because you have a busy intersection right here too.
Oh, this is a really busy intersection.
But
Usually
McDonald's
backed
on the
up here.
corner, McDonald's on the corner is already developed, so you're gonna have, if what you're
But our
asking for.
easement there still exists, correct, with McDonald's?
Not the way it's shown on that map.
No. So, if I can just say, if you put 55 feet in the front yard of planting, then on either side, on the McDonald's, on Bernie Mae's farm, on the, you're not gonna have it, it's just gonna look like a patch of trees, they're not gonna be able to even put a sign on the wall of their building that people are gonna be able to see if you ask them to put the building back 55 feet. I'm happy with the plan the way it is right now.
Laura, the one thing to be mindful of, if we went forward with this access easement, if for some reason, 25 needed to be widened, that easement would not be accounted for, it would be taking up the green space between the easement and the road, and so that the buffer would be actually decreased.
There was a time when this made sense, 30 years ago.
Well, the original plan made sense.
Yes, if it was done right, but now that they melded
It's been all pushed
properties,
around
and
ever since.
it's not 9 parcels anymore. And because the animal hospital is really a pretty benign use, I hate to say it, although it's needed, I don't think it's
But
gonna
not-
generate the traffic.
It's not a traffic, it's not an intent of.
They've done all
an
throughout 58 with
intense
the cross
traffic
easements
development.
and making sure that you can, once you're off the roadway, you can go to different plazas and different things, without having to go back on onto the highway. This makes I mean, I would propose just, let's get rid of this road altogether
Yes,
and create,
Right.
and go with the current zoning that we do with cross easements, because this makes no I mean, I appreciate the line, it's beautiful, it's nice color and all that, but it does not make sense, especially since they melded all these properties.
Yeah,
And just to go back in time a little, we were here. We came to that conclusion 3 years ago.
Yes,
Bob
But
already,
still has
Bob,
to be,
Bob
you know,
has, I understand, but
buffers
Bob has
and-
already done the work to remove the easement, and then it got to a situation where what was said that was gonna happen was then said
You
it's
could
not
certainly
gonna happen.
improve the property for visual, for people driving down the street, because you do have the big swath of land that you can do streetscapes and lighting, it'll look somewhat nicer, I think.
What was the pushback last time?
The pushback was, okay, when we came in and we discussed this
It
3
was
or 4
very
years ago.
generic discussion, and there was a understanding that it would be extinguished. No one ever really, I think, carefully analyzed the map, and then I think when someone looked at the map, they go, oh, no, we don't wanna give that up. That's what I was experiencing from our side. But I did in the interim do the title work, and I drafted up a document to extinguish it, started getting signatures.
We
So-
did, we signed it all, we sent it all back. And then when it got to a point where it was gonna come in front of the town board.
For a vote.
The supervisor at that point said he wouldn't sign it.
yeah, it's,
After
I
he
agree
agreed
with
to these
you.
people that he would do this and eliminate it, it got to a point where he just, at that point, said, no, I'm not signing it. And it stopped at that point.
And what was
And I
his
think if it
reasoning?
was brought in front of.
And what was his reasoning?
I don't think we have any. He didn't give any, he just said, I'm
You
not
remember,
signing it."
Bob?
My understanding is, he was,
They didn't donate.
when he did it, again, when we had the discussion, there was a very generic discussion, there was no map in front of anybody, nobody
Sorry,
said,
only
this is
kidding.
where it's located. There was just a discussion, there was a cross-access easement that needed to be extinguished, or right of way. There was one map at one time, as Rick's pointed out, that bisected the properties. There was a question as to whether that was the one that was being extinguished, or whether it was this, which was never again specifically identified. And
That would've
was-
made much
and that
more
was the
sense, the
and that was the
bisecting, I
reason
like.
why he chose not to proceed forward, cause it wasn't, he still felt that this one had some reason to be kept.
Well, the only thing is, right now, we have a cross-access easement that goes all the way across. If we change this, then we no longer have a cross-access easement, because if we're giving this up, we're obviously giving these up here, right? So there's no back cross-access easement through everything, if this has future development.
The one
done
that was,
through the
the one that
site
was through
plan.
the center,
It's done through the site plan process.
Yeah, right, it's through
As-
site plan, that's
Site
correct.
You're not losing anything, you're still gonna connect these parcels from one side to the other side for internal traffic. It's just that you're not going to do it with a parallel roadway, so to speak, to 25A, which is going to be used as a racetrack.
It is.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That'd be like
Every
TJ Maxx
corner- every
into
corner
Trying to
is like
solve
you
one
have
problem
to
and
have-
create
so
another
you have an
problem with.
access on one road, on the other road. If you go to the Speedway gas station and sit there for a while, as soon as that light turns red, everybody's cutting through the Speedway gas station around the back and out to make the right-hand turn. You're gonna just create that here. But here, it's gonna be, I think, more congested, or it's gonna be worse, because it's longer for number
Right.
one. You're gonna get more people who are gonna take that trip and go off, especially if they're coming south here. And the fact that you have an intersection only 35 feet back from the roadway. This car is gonna make a right-hand turn here. These cars are coming this way and bicycles are coming this way. You don't have a problem here now, you have another one here, everywhere this crisscrosses. So
You
if you
just
put a
added
stop sign here,
intersections for
this guy
accidents.
comes in, has to stop, or you put stop signs here, it's just.
And
it's
the
just a-
McDonald's doesn't have a drive-through, so you have pedestrians that are walking in and out of
Yes,
that parking
in that
lot,
parking
so,
lot.
you know, it's, the right thing to do when the McDonald's was built would have been to make a turning lane onto Wading River Road headed southbound, but that didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
And the town could have asked for a deeded right-of-way there, so that they could create a turning lane, but it didn't happen, and I don't see McDonald's coming back in for a site plan application anytime soon. So, this would be a speedway for, you know, the animal shelter or the animal hospital, which is, in my opinion, a benign use. And I don't wanna see a speedway going through the McDonald's and taking out the green space, the only green space that we have in front of the McDonald's on 25A, which is what would have to happen in order to build this roadway.
Who's gonna build the easement?
Yeah, the town, that was another problem, because the
May
town
not
did,
happen today, but having the ability to do it, even if it's 10 or 15 years from now.
Well, it's 30 years ago it was proposed, so.
Yeah.
I guess we can wait
but the town
half
would
a
have to do a
century, I guess.
taking, and that's where Joe Janoski said, we're not doing this anymore, because the town would have had to buy all that property from these people in order to create this roadway.
Yeah, but he knew
No.
that going into it.
Yeah.
Yes, But the money wasn't there.
Correct.
To buy the property, number one, and number two,
Thanks. I'm back with my second best try at this thing.
to buy the property, number one, and then to build the road. So for this short little strip right here, I mean, if you were to do anything, leave the easement on the McDonald's property and take that property to make a turn lane in the future, but I can't see a speedway across 25A, and that's what it'll be used as. It won't be, the 1989 study, the intent was to create a downtown road and with parking benches and light fixtures and a walkable community off of 25A, so that the people that are visiting those shops and those stores would be able to walk and they'd be able to go park. That's what the 1989 study showed, but
I'm not even sure that's desirable out there.
it didn't happen.
No, it was,
have, like, the
I
shops
think,
over at
I think in
Eastwind.
concept, it would've been something very similar to the way Kenny Barrett did.
Yeah,
That's
over
right.
at
The
Eastwind.
little
You're
shops
exactly
and
right,
stuff.
and that
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
very
what-
well
that-
received either.
Well, it wasn't,
Successful, but it's not.
But this is what we were looking at. We were looking at coming back into here to cut these parcels out.
But the fact that the McDonald's was built the way it was, it'll never happen.
It's got a yellow
I'm just
thing.
kidding.
1988.
Not that level.
The 2014 when you were suggested, not that, suggested that you have crossing.
Yes.
Yep.
Makes sense. It makes sense.
And the Venetia project has their parking in the, is that the one that has the wall, like the entranceway? What are they doing in the front there?
Restaurant.
The restaurant?
Benicia.
Yeah, for this, what's the plan for the project next door?
We haven't,
The
I
rest
haven't
of
seen a
those
plan
parcels.
from them in over a year.
No, you probably won't either.
This just bothers me, too. So close to the road.
Well, it's not there, I mean, it's just.
But it's,
But
that's the plan, of way to put it,
But
yeah.
That's the zoning requirement.
Yeah.
That's
And they
because
comply.
they didn't wanna see a sea of parking cars in the front on 25A, they wanted to see the building, it's the same
buildings are nicer to
concept
look
as
at than the parking lots.
Right.
58,
So
same
this is
concept.
And I
35 feet.
promise you a nice looking building.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Rick, it's all on you.
Yes.
Well, here's the animal hospital, if you wanna see the animal hospital, we're gonna say, we'll follow suit with that, it'll be very traditional,
Microphones.
very traditional building, single style, Cape Cod style, little weather vane on it with a.
Yeah, what's the weather vane? Was that a cat?
It's either gonna be a
That's the
dog
side
or
of
a
the
cat,
building.
whatever, what do we decide on the weather
Well,
vane?
that's the back.
Goose.
Oh,
Okay.
It's one of the swans that was taken
Where's the
from.
main entrance, what does it face?
This right here,
Faces where the
could be
easement
a
will
dog
be?
Faces
chasing a
this.
cat or something.
when you look at this building, this elevation would be this elevation right here. When you look this way, this is the elevation you'll see. The side elevation's where he will come into the animal hospital.
What's this material?
Either a vinyl shingle or a wood shingle.
And this has
When I
not
say
gone,
vinyl shingle, they look like.
Yeah, the certainty,
Cheap,
very good.
The cedar.
the hardy plank, this has not gone before the ARB yet, or it has?
Yeah, the ARB's.
The ARB approved it. It was so long ago, I don't
Unless there's an
remember.
expiration date on that, then we're going back, I don't know.
Yeah, it's only,
Maybe, you never
it's only
know.
good for a decade.
Like I said, the only, I'm just, alright,
Jeff, is it possible, Jody had mentioned before, to just keep the easement on the McDonald's for future use for putting a turning lane in there? Is it possible to do just that?
That's recorded, right?
Well, the one thing,
put all their septic on
the easement won't help you with that,
change the
because it would be taking up the buffer.
See, this is
The
the buffer.
easement is sort of set back
The
from.
easement is still, the easement is this, the buffer, there's 35 feet all the way around. That's the easement here. What is this here, this green line?
That's the easement.
So they moved the easement back from the buffer?
That's per the.
That's on the map.
That's on the recorded easement.
That's on the,
That's
on
the
filed
roadway,
map and
that's,
it's
That's
recorded.
that's the
actually-
speedway that's 35 feet from the roadway.
Yeah.
It's not approved, but it's shown on a filed map and it's.
So the
it's
easement,
in the-
it's 35 feet and then a 24-foot easement behind the 35 feet?
Right, 35-foot buffer and 24-foot
So
wide
the buffer,
roadway.
the buffer that's
Call it an
required,
easement,
that
it's a road.
35 feet is what?
It's just buffer.
Can we get an easement on that? The buffer portion? Because, for some.
That's actually following the building, hey Rick, if you take a look, here's your building
If we ever
setback.
needed this, that we could have this.
McDonald's is
It's
not gonna come
54
back in and
feet.
say, here's my property, take
54
it.
feet buffer from the
What's that?
You're
No,
gonna
I
have 54 feet buffer, I'm sorry, this is
Not
30
gonna
feet buffer to the closest point of the building, and that's your building setback.
I would like to see the ability to have a turning lane here.
You'd
Yes.
have to condemn it, is what you'd have to do.
Well, because
They're
that's
not
a,
gonna give it to you.
Tim,
Well,
because of the
they
traffic.
could give up this
Yes.
easement
Yeah,
and move
that's
it.
a bad
They
intersection.
could move their easement,
They're done.
They could move their easement.
Their site is built, it's not gonna change.
And by the way, isn't that where that church is? Church is right down.
No, he's on
They're down,
Dogwood
well,
down.
they're west,
Church is over
they're
here.
west.
They're over here.
Yeah,
We'll be, keen to see it from there.
it's off the aerial.
It's on the north
Right.
side of, 25A.
So Rick, your front yard setback is what from the building?
Excuse me?
What's your front yard setback, 30 feet?
30 feet,
And that's all gonna be landscape?
yes.
The state should actually condemn
With pretty trees?
the property for a turning lane there.
3 suites, yeah,
Agreed.
and they'll
State road.
all be out now from.
Agree, but
from
you're
pretty
gonna,
trees.
you know, whether
pretty
that,
trees.
this dimension
Pretty-
is
the
long
prettiest
enough
ones we can
to
find.
do that,
Now,
you know,
on
I
the
mean,
other-
this is obviously
on the
still
other
the
side of the
answer
coin,
here.
though, you have to
But don't
remember,
forget,
we're also
this
in
is growing
primaries
over here
compatible
too.
roads.
This,
Yes.
this
might be
potentially
getting
could be,
native-
you know, where you may have to
Scrub
need
stuff.
to come out and have another turning lane here,
Scribble.
right? To come out and make this wider, this is gonna be the entrance to this shop, and you're gonna have to, if you're getting a lot of traffic coming out here, this may need a turning lane at some point, an extra lane to then merge in.
I don't see that happening
don't
up
I don't see
here
it
at
happening
all.
right now either, but, you know, it's a potential for the future.
Well, we can lay out pretty much what we'd like to see in the area, and that's, of course, through site plan, that can all be enacted. I mean, that's the whole idea behind, I mean, when people sit for a site plan, all those things are considered, cross easements and access points and.
The
You
only
went
other
to the
thing,
planning
the
board,
only
right?
other
The
thing
planning-
that is that also down this road here is gonna be the rails to trails
Then we have
access,
to act as a town, but
you know?
in the meantime, what if this
It would be nice maybe to have a bike lane, or side, you know.
The rails to trails was gonna go down Wading
Is
River
there a
Road.
sidewalk on that side?
Well, there will be
Yeah.
when we put our sidewalk in here.
Trails to trails was
But no
coming.
Rails
bike lane,
to
just a
trails
side.
is, yes, the rails
The
to
high
trails is
tension
across
wires?
from the Wading River Elementary
Right.
School, that's
Right.
the access to the
Right, but
rails to trails.
there's no parking or anything over there, at the rails to trail, there's like three spots and then at the school there. But I'm just saying, if people wanted to, you know, be able to bike safely, this is a hard place to bike safely,
Well, there's a sidewalk, and you know
hard
what?
place
You know
to
what,
drive.
you know what,
Long Island's a difficult
yeah,
place to
no,
bike
you know, I'm just saying if
On
there's a way to,
25A.
if there's a way to, well, that is part of the bike, you know, the bike map,
No, it's not.
I think so.
I said the rails for trails accesses off of Wading River Road, not off of 25A.
Right, no, I know that, but I'm well aware of that, but I'm just saying. Alright, so it's something we need to consider.
We last met on this with the board on October 2016,
I'm okay with it the way it is.
I am too.
with the cross-access, but not the, as shown on the approved map.
I'm okay with the site plan as it's laid out, as it's been reviewed by planning, as it's been reviewed time and time again by the town attorney, as it's been brought back 100 times by the applicant trying to get
No,
this
no,
building
no,
built.
no.
I never looked at the site plan.
Oh,
Glanced at it.
Talking
I
about the
dealt only with the
easements.
easement issue,
Talking
that's
about the
correct.
easements.
Just to be clear, okay.
So is it the will of this board to authorize Bob to work with Mr. Cuddy to abandon this recorded easement?
Yeah. It doesn't work. When the McDonald's got built and the 1989 Helmut study plan was not incorporated into the review of McDonald's, that plan no longer works for that easement.
And McDonald's became a cog in the wheel once that got put in.
Right, and not only that, the town would have to condemn all the frontage on that easement and take that property and then build the road. And it would turn into a speedway. So you talk about bicycle safety, it would turn into a speedway.
Yeah, I seem to think, and I'm not so sure that that roadway probably would be a catalyst for a lot of intensive building that I don't think the people of Wading River want, to be honest with you. So, I think by abandoning that road, which, I mean, this doesn't make sense to me, it really doesn't. It reminds me of, you know, you go down to Myrtle Beach and you got all these side roads that you can zip down so you don't have to be on the highway. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Plus, you're not gonna get across May's property anyway, so it's.
Right.
It's
Or
really
the
just an
real
orange
estate
crayon
office.
that should be erased.
Can the easement
Take
be
their
moved
parking
into the 35 feet? Incorporated within?
we would have to go back and amend the whole subdivision map, amend the covenants, and amend the
This
easement.
is the map.
And get everybody to sign on to it. Get all the property owners to sign on to it, that it affects,
And that
which
would
Bernie
reduce-
May already said he wasn't doing,
And it would also,
according to what
It
I've
would
been
just be
told.
incorporating this into the 35 feet.
but it would also eliminate, if not, or reduce the buffer, landscape buffer.
What?
If you move the, easement closer to the
road.
right-of-way,
Oh,
to
right,
road,
right, was it 50 feet now?
yeah.
But why couldn't you just have the easement there for future use and allow them to plant on that at this point, if you didn't actually use it for the easement, but just retain the right of the easement, but incorporate it into the 35 feet, so we would retain the easement, we wouldn't necessarily act on the easement at this point. Still can allow the cross-access, but we'd at least retain the right of the easement.
The concern I have is that if
For
you,
something in the future,
if you
if the
take-
road had to get,
if you take this and put it here, you would have no buffer between the building and the road.
what was that?
You'd have no buffer.
You would have no buffer.
You're gonna have a road right next to a road. There's nothing. Little grass strip in between. You're accomplishing the cross-access easements internally rather than externally, is what it is.
Makes sense.
Basically,
But you're
moving
safer
from
slower
one place to another.
And
More
slower
turns,
moving traffic.
You know, and if we were sticking to one, if we said we got only one little place we can do it, we're giving them a full length of this piece of property, we're giving them 3 accesses over here. I mean, that will meld and work with any site plan that anybody's gonna come up with, and it's not restricting it to one little space that you can go to. It can spread out, you can move it, if you're coming from here, you can use this cross access, if you're here, you can go this way.
Alright.
So I think this works far better than the parallel road to the outside, and then we can give you we can landscape it nicely, we can make the buildings look good. And I think Veneti's probably pulling his buildings back further off the road.
We haven't
Again, I don't
voted
know,
on
I
over a
haven't
year.
seen his either.
Alright,
Sid, is there a take from the Civic on this? Sid?
I know the rationale behind maintaining the easement, I think Sean was big on that. It's the opposite from what Tim said.
That's not unlikely.
Yeah, right, it was the opposite rationale.
Well, Sean,
It really works well with Florida, you know, right?
said Sean was on board to remove this.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
but-
I've got minutes from town board meetings where he told Mrs. D'Abato that this was gonna get done, it was gonna get done quickly. And then 3 years
Yep.
later, it didn't get done.
Right.
But again, it was not with a map in front of us when it was stated. It was done at a town board meeting without a map, without any statement as to where it existed. So just to be fair.
Right, the
Well, to be
easements weren't
fair,
depicted.
It was a general statement.
To be fair,
Yeah.
he had the site plan showing the cross-access easement.
I don't know what he had. I know I didn't.
It's
I know I
because
didn't.
It's been into the town.
Doesn't
for how
matter.
long?
It doesn't matter.
It
He has
doesn't-
very
it
little
doesn't
to say
matter.
about
It's water
this.
under the bridge.
I think
It's exactly.
one of the things that I would like to see if the easements change is how it works with the next property. That's my only thing with the traffic and coming in and out.
The planning staff would require a cross-access easement for anything that's, any proposed site plan coming in. Why it didn't happen with McDonald's, I don't know, but it should have been.
I look for the records, there are no records other than the approved map, to which is what you see there.
Right.
And I superimposed the approved cross-access location on where,
I'm gonna give you an interesting spin on this also. Bernie May's property, who is the cog in the wheel, basically, that we're looking at.
He's a farmer, and he was there before
Okay,
anybody
but
else was.
He comes all the way back to here, and he has a boatload of frontage on Wading River Maniville Road. Through the site plan approval process, you could deny him access from here without landlocking his property. So he doesn't even become a player in this thing at that point. There will be another curb cut here, cause he's got a lot of property, but he can access from Wading River Maniville Road. Okay, and we can still cross-access back in here.
Yep.
Without giving him access to this road out here. So there's another reason why. I mean, if he was locked in here and he had no other way
Yeah,
into his
that'd
property,
be a whole
it'd be a different ballgame, but he's
Sure.
not landlocked. And Wading River Maniville Road would be a better entrance for him to whatever he's gonna do.
But you landlock this though, if you take one.
No, she already has,
She already has it.
she already has that.
If
Not
this
only
road was
that-
built, she'd have
That's
to
right,
take
okay,
down
okay, I
that
see
building,
right
and
here.
she'd have, you'd take
Not
half
only
of her
that,
property.
Not only
That's
that,
not what
she
I'm
can
asking.
access, she can access through the McDonald's
I'm
easement
having
too.
trouble hearing.
Okay. Alright,
Right, just how Target and Sports Authority and all of those are connected, you have to you know, leave
little
Target
weave
and
around
then
it,
go
yeah.
around and you,
Yep.
and it
But it
slows
it
traffic.
slows
Slows
everything
the
down,
traffic
and it's not
down, right.
something that you're gonna go weave through and get
Mhm.
out.
Not a
You're gonna-
straight run.
You might as well wait for the light.
Watch
Right.
me.
Yep.
Watch me.
E-Box.
I agree with the circumstance, the concept, and Rick was on the website, and they worked very hard for like 2 years. And as the Civic Association, just an aftermath, we were very dogged in defending, the concept over
Yeah.
the years, but the concept doesn't seem to work
Right.
anymore.
Cause of McDonald's.
Right, right.
Yeah, that was the starting point for it, not to work.
You are gonna have a problem when Venezia, if
Oh, yeah.
Venezia comes in, that, that light by Dogwood, lining the roads and everything, it's gonna be really tough.
But that would be,
Dumping the traffic onto Wading River Manor Road, I don't see that as a traffic solution, and I would be worried about it being,
Yes.
a speedway.
Yeah,
Just be nice if
Thank
it
you,
goes
Sid.
that way.
but when Venezia comes in, that's
That
the
was
opportunity
his original
to make sure that you have enough room on that side. Unfortunately for him, it's the same thing that's happening on Route 58 and on, Cromer right now with that corner piece where they actually took the property to realign the road, and if that's what has to be done, then that's what has to be done.
This will be larger if that is ever possible. If that were ever to be possible to go that way,
What will be
to
larger?
access out on Wading River Manor Road.
You talking about these cross accesses?
Yeah.
They're 25 feet wide.
Okay,
It's the same, it's the same as,
Okay.
same as a regular driveway width, they're 24 foot, excuse me. 24 foot from here to here, which is the aisle width for the park.
all right, so say if you were to come from this, say you come through here, if in the future you could come all the way out, right? Come all the way out this way, right? So you
Yes.
could come out over here. There's a lane in here to be able to do that.
Yes.
With
Yeah,
that,
you come right through, the parking lot. You got
Okay.
parking to either side, it would be no different than having a road with parking on both sides of it. And this will continue, they can line more parking up over here, put a curb cut through and
And
just
just
keep it
continue
going.
through.
And
Alright.
even if it offsets, even if you have to do one of these and come out, it
That's
just
what I-
slows things down.
Right, yeah,
So sometimes aligning these things perfectly across,
yeah, no, I know.
it goes right
Yeah.
back to where we're going, now it's
Yeah.
quick.
Right.
Yeah,
But at that point, you could put stop signs back in here, and you're not jamming traffic up anywhere. So these cross-access easements could have stop signs if you thought they were gonna be that heavily used.
And with the cross-access easement, the applicant is required to build the cross-access instead of the town.
Everything is
And
done
maintain it.
when you
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
And we have to maintain it.
all right, I mean, it seems to make sense.
It does. I wish, I mean, hindsight's always
There's-
20/20,
there's
but,
been
you
a
know, I'm
long-
getting
there's been
blinders,
a
I'm getting
long
older. But, I mean, 30 years ago, it made sense what they wanted to do, but,
Would've been
Listen.
beautiful.
They built bridges on the parkways.
yes,
So the trucks can't fit under them.
Right.
But they didn't have trucks that size when they built the bridge, so they said, oh, well, maybe we'll get a truck that's 15 foot tall. Well, now they're 18 foot tall and
Right.
they hit the bridge.
That was Moses'
Remember
grand
Moses
plan.
didn't like trucks.
yes.
But
Yeah,
he
well,
wanted-
there was
he
a point
wanted-
to that, it was for the leisurely drive out, so he
Exactly,
accomplished
but
his,
it was
he accomplished
for
what he was.
aesthetics also.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
all those bridges are done in stone, he did a beautiful job on it, it's just, in all fairness, just don't take the truck on the parkway.
Well, he was very good, yeah. He knew what he wanted.
He knew what he was doing.
So now you get my point about not wanting to give this up so easily, cause you don't know what's coming in the future. So,
I do
yeah.
see, but you know, I do a lot of thinking and you just
No, it makes
say to
sense.
yourself, you know, we
It-
worry about traffic and
it
then
makes
then
sense.
you read statistics and say there's a mass migration out of New York because the taxes are too high. So maybe we're
No,
gonna
this
see
is a big
less
traffic
traffic in
area.
10 years than we do now.
Oh,
Who
it
knows?
depends on what
I
kind
live
of
near
argument
here.
you wanna make,
There's a lot
it's
of
easier to
traffic.
pick whatever
There is.
facts you wanna pick.
I live right over here.
It's backed up,
not
and
far
especially in the fall.
Yeah, but
I wanna,
had
I mean,
McDonald's
I think
been-
there's no perfect solution,
There is none.
but I mean,
But I think this is
I wanna look
this
at
is
it all and
better
process
than
it.
the other one.
Yeah, I wanna
I agree.
process it, because
You
there's
can have that
no
one,
perfect
Denise, I'm
solution.
aware of that.
Helicopters.
Okay.
Don't get me going on
Don't get on the helicopter committee, don't get her going.
Busiest committee.
It's right here, that's it.
Which property is yours?
It's right next to me.
I'm okay with abandoning the easement.
And this is all combined, this is.
We know that.
We would have an executive session, and it's not the sewer.
Separate.
Delayed. We had a sewer extension, this past meeting, we have an executive session, but I think the one that I had was,
Well, yeah, we're in a
don't have that on there, no.
Okay,
Did you talk
okay.
about it, Bob?
What I did
Yeah,
is
no,
just.
I think it was adjourned, but I just saw you still had an executive session.
Yeah, we always have executive,
Oh,
you always
okay.
have
That's
executive,
fine,
yes,
okay.
yes,
I just
yeah.
didn't wanna find out.
Yeah, no, yeah, oh yeah, come on, get all your stuff and go.
That's why we're not so cordial.
Thank you.
All right, so I think there's a few more questions, I don't know, I think everyone's pretty much okay with moving forward. Did you wanna process this a little bit more
I
first?
do, I wanna,
Yeah, take a ride
I
over
know
there,
these
take a
guys are
look at it.
familiar with it, but, yeah, I wanna process a little bit, like I said, there's no perfect solution.
Maybe take a ride over there and look at it.
That helps visually.
When the building was done, it was gone.
You wanna see it? The first one's gonna be so far back, and again, what we're generating is, like you said, maybe 15
How
15
far
trips a
along
day.
are you with site plan? You're ready to go?
Ready to go?
We wrote the staff report in
I-
2012.
Yeah,
We wrote the staff report in 2012.
And the only outstanding issue is the easement.
Which is, right, which is paper. Paper road,
You know,
paper idea.
Again, going down the road, we've, it seems like we get to the top of the hill and then we're at the bottom of the hill, and then we're back to the hill, we're at the bottom of the hill. So hopefully we're climbing back up the hill and we can get this resolved.
Yeah, before gas gets any higher.
That
I
gentleman is
get it.
going broke, paying taxes and paying mortgages on a piece of property he can't use.
I mean, like I said, I hate the concept of giving it up, I think, you know, this kinda hamstrings the whole idea behind it, so, it makes sense at this point.
I don't think you're giving anything up, you're just moving it to.
I know, but it would've been nice to be able to come all the way out and exit out on Wading River, but that's not happening, so,
We tried it years ago,
yeah.
that was the plan.
And it
All right.
floods over there too.
Huh?
It floods over there too, on the east side of the McDonald's property.
I don't know, somebody's gotta look at
I
that.
didn't know that.
Every time we get a
I
rain,
didn't know that.
they have to close that road off.
Yeah,
Off of
Where is
Wading
the
River
front?
Mandeville Road.
on the east side of the McDonald's.
Yep.
And to the
That's where they get
Walgreens
their, that's where they
entrance.
get their fillet fish from.
On
Yeah,
Wading River
market.
Road. Across from the post office.
You got Gio.
That's the next phase
Where
of the
the
bike
flooding
trail.
is? It's right here,
From
isn't it?
Epcal on the east side of Wading River Manor Road, in front of the post office.
This is McDonald's?
Right,
yeah,
all
that's
it has
McDonald's,
to
that's
have the thing
Walgreens.
over.
Right
But
here.
then go
This
straight down
entire
Wading
thing
River
right
Road
here.
to the elementary school and then tie into the Tesla trail. That's what the alternative transportation committee
I
is
just
doing.
said that.
You're here for a couple of minutes, I have pictures of it on my cell phone, I can show you.
Yeah.
I have actually
didn't
pulled the
even
guy
know
out
about
of there
that.
on my truck, and I told him not to get out of his car, cause the water was over the doors.
Yeah.
It's that deep,
Yeah.
you get a foot and a half of water.
Oh, yeah, with a flash flood?
And every time it rains, they put the cones out on 25A, put the cord up, and they shut it down
Yeah.
for 2 or 3 days. So there's no access, now it's all going back to 25.
Yep.
Yeah, you're killing me. Quit while you're ahead.
I quit.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Charles.
thank you very much.
Hi, Rick.
for getting
Nice
us
to
on
meet
the
you.
board. Nice to meet you.
I've never had one.
Congratulations
Best
on
sandwich in
your
the market.
positions.
Thank you.
No, Big Mac's the best.
We'll look at it, we'll think about it, we won't drag it out.
Well, you have my number if you have any questions.
Better than Wendy's, better than Burger King.
Actually, I live there.
All right, actually, that may be,
Give
that,
me a call, I'll meet you over
yeah,
there.
that would be,
That would
I
be
like, just
good.
because
I
we're
would
coming in
like
on this.
to-
week.
Educate them.
Yeah, it'd be better, I can walk you through the property, show you where.
I like that
things work,
idea,
and we'll
and we
go.
wanna
would be
do,
helpful.
we wanna make sure we're doing what's right.
Maybe you can stake out the corner of the building too. Maybe you could stake out the corner of the building too that's closest to the road, so they can have a better idea as to
Well,
where
that's
the
the-
building is.
Oh, yeah, and we'll set it up on a day when it's raining,
All right,
so we can see
Gio,
the
you
flood.
Yeah, pace that out, cause that front building's,
Like you
fused
said,
away.
that's where they get the fish from the fillet.
That's right.
Fish in that pond,
Oh.
in that pond that they create.
It's a play pond.
Don't forget all your,
Yeah, my history.
Get your stuff.
your history facts. Is Mike coming with you too, or?
No, Mike
Okay.
we had a little incident at Town Hall West this morning, so he's
Okay.
taking care of it.
Town Hall
Everything
West.
okay?
Yeah, somebody broke into 3 town vehicles over there this morning, last night.
Oh, really?
Can't hear what you're saying in this open meeting.
Oh, I guess that Town Hall West, they had a couple,
had
couple
somebody
vehicles
said-
broken into.
They broke into 3 vehicles at Town Hall West.
I didn't see it on local this morning, I'm surprised I didn't see it.
Just had a little,
I didn't know about it, that's what she's asking.
just got reported probably.
Who knows?
So that's what he's at, trying to figure out a cost analysis on what it's gonna take to fix each vehicle.
You
And
have to
Gio,
speak
thank
lou-
you
You have to speak
for-
louder, Professor Woodson.
Sunrise and Hubbard Avenue with that tree, what a difference that intersection makes with that tree
Yes,
out of there.
you don't have to itch out
You don't
a
have to
minute at a
pull out
time.
into the roadway to see traffic
I
anymore.
was gonna do that 3 years ago. and
Was
the
that Thrall's
people-
property or Lamandola's property?
Thralls,
Thrall's.
yes.
But I was gonna do that 3 years ago, and the people came out, it's such a beautiful tree, it's like the tree in the waiting room.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and it's been there for 1,000 years,
Yeah.
but it really impeded the view of
It did.
traffic, and it was a matter of time before
Safety.
something bad was gonna happen, so.
So,
Now there's firewood available.
we have all kind of firewood up there. Some of the things I picked up, and some of this is preliminary, I saw one of the vehicles this morning were given to the county, or the county's picking up, I think we got 3 or 4 of them up
I
there.
just wanna update,
Oh.
this is for, just for the,
Municipal.
the municipal garage update.
Yeah. I think they're giving us like $275 for the car, and I was down there a couple of weeks ago with the chief to try to figure out what cars are county, which ones are ours, to get the process going so we can get rid of them, cause a lot of them been.
There's a
Well,
lot.
these are all the
It's full
excess
back there.
vehicles you have back there.
Yeah,
Impounded it, yeah.
so from my understanding, and
Just one sec, can you hear? You just need to talk a little louder.
I pretty got what I'm low,
It's older than that. It's your DJ voice.
yeah. Okay, so supposedly they're maybe giving us $275 per car.
Who's they?
The county?
Is that
They
who
come
got
with
the,
the
that's who
car.
got the bid for our cars? The county?
I'm not sure, but that's what I was told, it's still investigating it a little bit. But my question is, okay, we stored this car for 30 days, they're giving us $275, the car's pretty decent. My thought process is they're gonna auction it off, probably get $3,000 out of it. I don't see why that can't go in our pockets. Or, being we have a shortage of vehicles, why not implement that into our car system, because the interns right now are riding around in an old Crown Vic, it's breaking down. So, maybe that'll help us out with that. Storage fees I'm working on the auction, as far as auctioning off the vehicles we're working on.
Storage fees meaning,
When your car gets impounded, you should be paying storage fees.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, like a daily rate.
Well, a lot of times they are, they're compounded.
Yeah, yeah.
And and it gets to the point where the guy says, what, the car's worth $600, I'm not paying $6,000 to get out of it, keep the car, and they sign the title over it.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So, a lot of this we're still working on to get it,
Yeah.
down a little bit. Like I said, I was with the chief a couple weeks ago, figure out which vehicles, we can get rid of, which vehicles, we can't, which ones are the county. I was thinking, we have, maybe do 2 separate in the area of the armory, maybe make a little impound yard over there for our town cars, the police cars, our vehicles, keep everything separate from everything else.
The only thing we need to do with that is just stick some trees up in front of the fence.
Well, what I
up
was
there
gonna
then.
do is just do the slats in the fence and close it in.
I think the end game is not to separate and make 2 separate, the end game is to make sure that there's a flow of in and out of cars, so
Correct.
that, get rid of what we got,
Yeah.
and then make sure that there's a policy in place that we don't hold cars for any length of time.
Yeah, if we could do that and
Hello?
empty the yard out, then we wouldn't have to do that.
But some of the cars need to stay for a fair amount of time if they're involved in an investigation.
I realize all
And I
that. I
think
used to do
is
that.
that what you're talking about, separating those out so that they're identified? Cause I think it is time consuming to go back and re-identify the cars that are part of an investigation.
Yeah.
Versus cars that
Certain
are,
things we should keep separate.
The DA
and the
releases
junk
them
cars
pretty
and all,
quickly.
Yeah, but, like I said, we're packed now, there's no room for anything in the impound yard right now.
No, I'd tell you what, if we had clear title or possession, I'd scrap them all.
Yeah, so that's what I'm working on now, to move forward ahead on that, I met with the
County
chief.
brings cars to our
So-
yards?
We're trying to work on that. We really need, I think myself, we need to get a flatbed tow truck.
I think what they're asking about is county cars. Do we have county cars at our,
I think we have 5 or 6 there.
That would be if there was a county agency involved in the impound, like the East End Drug Task Force or something
Yeah.
along those lines, that's,
So they hold them, but there was a couple of nice cars that I noticed there that we could actually use,
Those are
or,
probably the drug impound
or
cars.
the deal is, why can't we sell
Cause a
them?
lot of the time, those cars are made
alright,
part
so
of.
I will talk to Bob about that and find out what the,
I mean,
where
it
the
seems
lines
that-
are.
Yeah, we're doing all the work, and taking all the money.
Okay, we'll look into that.
That's what it seems like to
Okay.
me.
Well, a lot of times those cars, if they're, especially if they're part of a seizure, a drug seizure or something like that, a lot of times they're part of sentencing, they're part of a plea agreement at the end. But, so, a lot of times, you know, sometimes it takes 2 years to go to trial.
Yeah. Oh, it just,
But you're right,
going
but
out
it's something to look
bogus,
at.
yeah. Like I said, I think we're kinda losing money, like I said, flatbed tow truck.
Flatbed's important.
We need that, we can't even.
Or not even a flatbed, maybe those, like the impact,
Well, actually, I think we need
one with
both,
the
because,
lifts?
yeah, I think we need, they come flatbed and then they have the lifts on the back, and actually the new ones now, if you ever watch Parking Wars, they have,
Yeah, right.
they have the remote control, so they can park here, your car's here,
yes.
and without even moving a
And
truck,
that's really more
get in and
convenient,
take
that's
your
more
stuff.
convenient, cause a lot of
Yeah.
times, right.
So, and it's only gonna benefit us, it's gonna put more money in the town's pocket. We got brand new police vehicles that I saw, but I think 5 or 6 of them, that are sitting outside. I went over to the Army, I think we got like 40 pallets online. Can we get rid of that?
I don't know whose that is, I thought, is that does
That was-
B and G store
Well, I
there?
think that was for when we had the fish kill thing.
Okay,
That was like 5 years ago, and we got, you know,
there's a lot of lime there, I know that.
and we can
yeah.
take our new police cars and put them inside, maybe, you know, extend the life.
Lime, we
a
have
little bit.
lime?
Yeah.
What can you do with it?
Give
I
it
don't
away.
know, they bought a
some-
lot of it for the fish kill,
Yeah.
and it's been sitting there, and it just,
We can find out who owns it, tell me
yeah,
about
I
it.
think it may be B and G or under engineering, when they had the fish kill,
We bought it,
yeah.
No.
But it's
Alright.
been sitting there like 5 years.
Okay,
so it's probably lime rock then, so.
Yeah, you hit
Cement.
somebody over the head with it.
Why it's stone?
The next thing under gas pumps, we're still, going over what's going on down there. I'm gonna have them pick up 2 new dipsticks, measuring sticks for the diesel and the, gas. What I was recommending to them, it seems we have an issue, the computer's saying one thing, the stick's saying another thing, so what I had them do is, they measured the tank with the stick, the truck came, filled up everything, and we were getting, there's gonna be a margin of, offness
Error.
because of,
Just the angle.
evaporation or water, the water in the, you know.
but the seals were changed, right?
The
So
seals were
that should
changed,
help,
and we
right?
actually had them padlocked now.
Okay,
So we're good on that, so what I wanna do is just wait another month or 2 and just make sure everything's consistent with what we have, but we really need to buy, it's called a Vetaroot, computer system. The one we have in the garage is outdated. The new one costs about 43 grand. And once again, these are just up.
and then you don't have to, you only dipstick once a week when you do this?
Well, the computer should tell you everything, and then you can use the stick as a,
Check and
just a
balance.
sec,
Check
yeah.
and
Verification.
Yeah, but usually, the computer will tell you everything, but like I said, through evaporation, and hot days, you know, if it's, the tanks are, depending on where the entrance to the tank is, if it's on the end, you know, it might be, if it's not
Pitched, right?
pitched right, you could be off. So there's a couple different things, we wanna check on that.
But it's, you're saying it's still off?
Well,
as
there's a
the
little,
margin
there's a
narrow?
there's a little error, margin of error, like 3%, on a tank, like evaporation, water in the tank,
Right,
like, that's
that you
automatic,
expect,
that's
that you expect.
automatic. So, around 13, 14 gallons, you're fine. Anything over that, you gotta look at it, something probably wrong, and I gotta give, Lori Pip and Mike, Curtis a lot of credit, they've been busting their butts trying to make things right and
Yeah.
get things right down there. I gotta give them credit,
Good for that.
it's a lot of work, Lori does it out of the kindness of her heart, she doesn't get compensated for it. And it's not easy either, to go through it, changing everything over, you know, conversion kits, it's a mess, and she's hanging in there with it. She's trying to teach Jamie the, you know, the process and all that, so.
Okay,
But the computer was always off, wasn't it?
The computer is just the computer's outdated. The
Yeah, so
computer needs
that's
a-
what, the fluctuation in the fuel.
Well, I'm not
Was.
100% sure, all I know is we were told that the computer is probably, it's out of date.
Yeah, we knew that
So-
5 years ago.
That's why I recommended doing the stick
for now, until we can raise funds to, get the new
Well, there's
computer.
always been inconsistencies with it, and we weren't sure whether it was due to theft or whether it was due to whatever it was due to.
But now when we have an issue, we have the cameras there now.
Right.
We can go back and look at the cameras, see what's going on, but we got locks on everything, we got cameras down there now. So, we're steadily making progress.
I thought we had cameras there.
You did, but,
But
Somebody's gotta check them.
no, they,
They were the fake ones you buy
Yeah.
and you put up and
Yeah.
say,
yeah,
You have one.
you're under surveillance, but it's just an empty box.
right, so.
I'm
I-
kidding.
Hey, it's
No,
not
hey,
true.
that's not true.
So I had my guys make up signs that go all around the property, cameras and use blah,
Right.
blah, blah.
Good.
So maybe over that'll deter people from,
Great.
doing anything. I talked with Bill Rothar this morning for next year's budget. I'd like to maybe try to get, because we're using the old Crown Vics, like interns and this and that, they're fixing them like every other day and they're burning a lot of gas. So what we're trying to do is maybe buy a couple of smaller vehicles, maybe 4 of them for next year that can be split around the town, save on fuel.
A few years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I thought, I came up with the same idea, because I thought that it was ridiculous taking these big Crown Vics and transferring them all over
Yeah.
town. It was a good use of money, because it was a resource that we had.
Once they
already.
get so far gone.
And we looked at a lease agreement, and
Yeah.
at that time, it looked lucrative to lease something like that, especially with interns that only do, 2 or 3, 4,000 miles a year or something like that. And I think it was a cost, advantage course, I'll have to look at it.
We, actually, Bill and I talked about it the other day, a couple of the options were, first of all, fuel-efficient cars, and then also shared cars, because obviously some people are needing them, more than others, and they can be shared cars. We're also trying to figure out the mileage, because some, when you go over a certain number of mileages, the leases end up costing you more.
Right.
But maybe what to do in the beginning is lease 2 or 3 cars, and then as they get up higher in the mileage, we could either return some in that aren't used as much, or ones that have a higher mileage, we can then, buy them out off the
purchase
lease.
them out, right.
Yeah, so it's just gonna be a matter of,
Most leases are ten
how
thousand a
we
year.
can,
We don't have interns driving more than 10,000 miles a year.
how it's gonna, work with the mileage. And one of the other things that we had talked about also is a lot of municipalities do it, it's a card that you can use at various gas stations, which the price per gallon of gas is very close to what we buy it at the municipal garage, but it reduces the travel time back and forth, especially with the police cars that are in sectors that are farther out from the municipal garage.
Oh.
So you're 20 minutes here and then 20 minutes back, you're filling up almost every shift.
Yeah,
So
every
there's a
shift
lot of
is
time in between, and there's a lot of gas used in that, so where you could fill up, basically in your sector.
Well, what we did was I computed that out. Say 604 comes to Riverhead 3 times a shift, a day, to get fuel. And you do that over a year, we figure you putting 9,000 miles on a car a year.
150 miles a day.
Yeah, so you don't need to, if you get the card, you
Right.
can stay right there, then that doesn't leave that area open.
Yeah.
Well, we used to
So-
fill up at Finks, I don't, well, that's when I was out there anyway, but that was 30 years ago.
But the card might help. Install the time clock at the municipal garage. One of the other things we're looking at is a OBD2 vehicle scanner. The one we have now only, that's the computer that you plug in that tells
Right,
you what's wrong.
tells you what's wrong with
The
the-
one we have now only goes up to basically 2009. So,
Okay.
that's about 3. This is just to bring our department up to par.
Yeah, all cars
Another piece
computerized
of
now.
equipment
Yeah,
for a
so-
museum.
Computer
It's
scan.
about $3,000.
Yeah, that might be a little outdated.
Yeah.
How many cars do we have that are over 2009? Well, now we do, now that we bought all those new police cars.
Yeah, so, that's about $3,000, I think it is, roughly. When we have people go out on workman's comp, I was looking at maybe doing an intern or a temporary person. Right now, we're short, one person in municipal garage, and the one guy, John, is busting his butt, trying to keep up with everything. I actually sent one guy over there a couple of days, just to help him get caught up. But maybe look into getting somebody that come in part-time to help him out. We already working, we're trying to get him and Curtis over there, but you really need 4 people over there. We can look into that.
Well, we've certainly done that with, other departments for short-term fixes, I'm trying to
Yeah.
think, where
We gotta get an agreement with the union.
Right, well, unless it's an emergency basis, but I know we did that for engineering at one point, I'm trying to think of the other departments we've done it with.
I think it's a reasonable, plea to the union, seeing as someone's out on workers' comp and we need somebody to fill that spot, but it's not gonna be a permanent
I
position.
mean, if it's gonna be a guy's gonna be out for a year, which I think
Yeah.
they can be, now
Yeah.
you're down a guy for a year.
Yep.
And like I said, the guy, John, is busting his butt every day over there, and it just, and also safety wise, you know,
Yeah.
he's over there by himself, something happens to him, I have Jamie checking on him, you know, every half hour, if she hears a loud noise, checking on me, so it's.
Good lord, what, is that bad?
No, I'm just
Checking
saying.
on every half hour, what the
You're
hell?
in there working by
If
yourself.
something happens, she hears a loud bang or something, go out there and check, make sure nothing fell on him or anything like that.
Well, that's
every
right.
half hour.
That's, yeah, that's like my wife, I heard something bang about an hour ago, you all right? Yeah, thanks.
Well, that was always
Laying
Don
here dying.
Dunleavy's claim when he was managing the municipal garage, was that you have to have another person on the other side of the
Yeah.
lift to make sure that
I mean,
safety
right now, we're
precautions
managing
are
it, but we're taking away from other people from other jobs that they should be doing.
Let me check with Meg what we have.
Okay.
No, I don't like that, I think that is a safety
Yeah.
concern.
And probably, we're gonna try to, when do we do budgets, August?
July 20th.
Okay. We're probably gonna come, towards with some type of budget for municipal garage,
July 20th is setting the budget for the garage?
July 20th, we're asking, I think it's probably around the time we're asking department heads to
Start their budget.
start their budget,
Okay.
put in what they're thinking of
but,
this year.
we're,
It's just, just preliminary at that point.
yeah. So we're thinking, and it could be a little high, but I figure maybe we'll start at $5,000 for tool replacements. A lot of new technology out there, we got older stuff breaks. You know, we need to replace that stuff so we can.
What's the budget line for that now, do you know?
I don't think there's any
Okay.
now. The other thing is, Mike and John are currently taking a test on computer for, air conditioning work. I guess last year they made them stop, you have to take a test now. They have done this, and I think there's another DEC test they have to take. Just to tell you, these guys Mike Curtis came in at 4 o'clock this morning, because the vehicles, the new vehicles now, you have to, when you get them inspected, you have to run through a cycle, like 50 or 60 miles before you can get them to pass inspection. So this guy's coming in, and maybe John once in a while, coming in at 4 in the morning to drive these cars, not getting compensated for it. So these guys are busting their butt over there.
They're not getting compensated.
Mike comes in and does hours, couple hours when things need to get done. He comes in and does it on his own time.
Yep.
He's always done that.
He comes in on
No
his own
comp time,
time.
no nothing?
He's an excellent employee.
He comes on his own time, so, maybe
Sure,
down
then
the
why?
line, if we were to send,
Like
if
a
we get the
more
AC work done
You can drive a car
in-house,
50
being
miles an
he
hour at
has
8 o'clock
this.
too.
Yeah, but if he gets the AC work done in-house, we're paying him $28 an hour compared to taking it to Ford for $80 an hour, then, you weigh your options and maybe, I don't know, give him a promotion, whatever. But if he's saving us that much money per hour, take a couple dollars off that maybe, cause they do go out,
Sure.
I'll give him a promotion, tell him when he comes in early, you take a half hour off someone.
Well, what's been done in the past is with the, street lighting guys, when we took over the railroad crossing on River Road, is they were given a stipend because they had to go out and get additional certifications and keep those certifications updated. So we gave them each, I think, a $3,000
$3,000.
stipend for getting the license and holding the license. Otherwise, we would have to have outside people come in and do it, which is exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, I give Lori, John, and Mike, good employees, and they're all about the town, so maybe we can look out for them a little bit. They do go above and beyond what they need to do.
Yeah.
So, that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Gio, good job.
All right.
Good
All
job,
right.
very good.
I feel like I
Gio,
have a
on
sense
the
of
job,
what's going on there.
Looks like all the money we need is.
Looks like good work, and I
need the-
hear,
I need the record.
Stipend is, so it's pretty good.
Thanks, Gio.
All right.
thank you, and thanks for, mowing the rec trail too, appreciate it.
$3,000.
The rec trail's almost
$5,000.
done. They're just gonna grade and seed, and then we're gonna
Stipend
hopefully
is-
schedule a ribbon cutting for the next couple of weeks.
Okay,
What?
very good. This is you,
Who, me?
yes?
This will
You're
be very
on.
brief, I guarantee we'll be out here by
Anti-litter committee.
11:15. Actually, I met with a woman named Debbie Wetzel, and lives up in Willow Ponds, and she was concerned about the anti-litter. I told her the anti-litter, and George Bartnick ran this very well when he was a councilman, and they had quite a committee, but it really centered around, they tried doing adopt a road programs, they tried doing, more signage, increasing fines for littering. And then, of course, you had the town-wide cleanup on Earth Day. So, we started spearheading back and forth, Debbie and I, about how can we really energize the town and really put some pride back. Just going out and volunteering, like Jesse Goodale used to do with his volunteers, go out and collect garbage, just to make the town more attractive. So, we have a meeting set up for this coming August 4th, and there's some interest in that. We sent out letters to all the churches, we sent out letters to all the community groups, and businesses and stuff to see if they would send a representative to come to that, just to spearhead. And it's not just to gather people together with garbage bags and gloves and an orange vest to go out and pick up garbage. It's more centered around creating educational programs, community awareness, whether it's through some PSAs, or whether it's through signages, or whether it's through even stuff on garbage pails, you know, give a who don't pollute. Maybe you start a campaign for a slogan, give out awards. There is some money in recycling. You know, if we could maybe grab a little bit of that to work on, I'd like to do an Adopt the Highway. We tried that before. We'd like to do another Adopt the Highway. Laura sat in on one meeting, the supervisor, and she came up with maybe running contests among different factions, maybe bus routes, and which I really sound intriguing to me, and give out some sort of awards for that, who has the cleanest bus route. So there's lots of those programs that we wanna set, so we're having a meeting on August 4th to discuss all of these.
School bus routes.
The school bus routes, I think that's a great idea.
Education for the kids as
Well as have, you know, more than just one community cleanup day, you know.
I think we used to have a poster contest or something.
Yeah, we
I
could,
remember
anything
that.
like that, any suggestions like that, we're certainly gonna entertain. And, you know, every year, most people, when I was growing up, you had your spring cleaning in your house, and you had your fall cleaning in your house. It was really, I mean, it's when you clean the blinds and everything, it's not just vacuuming. So maybe the town should look at more of a, you know, more than one time a year having a town-wide cleanup. So, I know they're doing it at the beaches on their own level, but, I mean, this is just businesses, parks, schools. So we're looking at maybe having at least 2 programs a year, spring and fall, as far as the town-wide.
Good idea.
The last one we did in the spring was a rainy day, Laura and I and 3 other people, and we cleaned up a nice section of 58, but, it was bad weather, and, so, hopefully that won't happen again, but it's just more of community, people take pride, that's all, you know, so, it's working well. Deborah's, she's getting ready to retire, she works in the city now, but she lives in Willow Ponds, and she's really, quite the woman, so she's helping me with this, and I'm involving her with this, and so, April, like I said, August 4th is an open meeting, it's a Saturday, it's here at 10 o'clock, so anybody wants to come and spit out ideas of what they might think we should do, and then I'll sit down with Laura and find out if there is any funding, or even if it's just a couple $100 to get, you know, advertising material out, at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m.
Jim, did you think about maybe presenting at roundtable or throwing it out there? I know.
That actually would be good.
Because that gets the word out. I mean, I really feel like this is something people would jump on. It's just a matter of getting the word out.
Yeah, I mean, a round table as far as,
We do the civic roundtable, I do it every quarter.
Okay.
So if you wanna, I think that would be good to
Oh, good.
have the committee come to, or have you and a representative come and present at the roundtable.
sure.
That would be.
And I think at the roundtable, I would even ask them for a couple of, some
Yeah, we even
volunteers
sent letters
from
to
within
each
each
one of the,
group.
senior communities and stuff, you know, cause, I mean, it's just,
Well, if you ask each of them,
We'll
we
give
need
you
so many
bags and everything.
volunteers from your group, then that builds your group up.
yeah.
And I liked when they used to do the road thing. I know other towns still do it.
Well, I remember Jesse, I mean, back when I was younger,
Southampton
Jesse Goodale started on
Right.
his own,
Yeah.
and he had his friends, and he had his little pickup truck, and he just went and did it, and, you know, he got an award for it, but it certainly sparked a lot of interest, and there are a lot of areas in town that we see all the time, you know, near outlet stores and near shopping centers that really,
There's a lady
doesn't do us pride at all.
There's a lady that lives off of, Mill Road, and she walks and she has her garbage pail and she picks up the garbage and she puts it on the side of the road and then she calls Geo and Geo sends the highway guys to go and pick up the garbage, so, yeah.
Well, that's another aspect we're looking at, maybe,
Well, we
maybe
ought to do
increasing,
something for her.
increasing some of the
Yeah, well,
garbage
I
pails.
actually sent her over to the News Review a couple of years ago for the Person of the Year to be considered for the community.
We were looking at maybe creating more garbage receptacles in certain key areas, as well as even expanding the point of having recyclable containers, because I think people really wanna recycle, and if you do have a blue container or a recycled container for cans or I think people would actually source, separate right on the spot, and they feel good about it. And there's really no receptacles anywhere that distinguish, at least in the public areas,
Yeah.
regular rubbish from recyclable.
You might be
Yeah.
able to get some schools or some classes involved, because, I mean, there were
Well, we
always.
sent a letter to the Key Club.
There were always all these programs centered around Earth Day, and they were always coming in and teaching kids
Well, the Key
about-
Club is very important, they do they do a lot of the educational component of, they do the recycling program as well as the clean water. They do that to all the elementary schools, they go from the high school, and I used to go with them to that, they do all that. So we sent a letter to them to get them involved in this too, so maybe they could work that out through.
They actually come in on an annual basis and give the town board a test as to
Yeah, how
the
long does it take a diaper to
recycling.
rot? I don't know,
Well, if you get someone who's good talking, you might get someone to go to some of the parent associations or to the school, see if you can get some of them on board taking an area. And also, I wanted to say that the bid had a cleanup day one
Yep, they came
one
and
day
borrowed all our
along-
stuff.
all along
Yeah, they do it every
the,
year, yeah.
riverfront, I
Mainstream
went
House.
down
The
there, I couldn't
aquarium
believe,
did their own also down
I couldn't
behind
believe
the
how
river.
much garbage was like down in
It
and
looks
around there.
incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the bid met yesterday, and then that is something between, the town and the bid, that's starting within the next couple, 2 weeks maybe, probably. There will be somebody that is, along, B&G, cleans up a lot of downtown, but there's still a lot of trash down there. So the bid is gonna have somebody for a couple hours every day, 7
Well, I
days
know
a week.
I know Bid was
to-
working with
to-
Bobby Hartman
to
with his
clean.
group, his,
Mainstream House.
Yeah,
Mainstream House.
Well,
that's
this-
changed, cause Bobby, I think, was paying out of his own pocket for that,
Yeah,
so.
right.
I think now the bid is,
And they'll be responsible to the bid to
yeah,
report off
in
on the
conjunction
cleanup
with
and,
the town, there'll be somebody to help spruce it up down there on a daily basis, so.
Good.
so.
I mean, I'd like to get to a point where community service could be used and this could be considered part of community service.
Oh,
so
not for
that
nothing,
Red
but
Cross
let's
can-
reach out to social media, because there's certainly enough keyboard warriors out there that like to denounce the town and how ugly it is and how much litter there is. Maybe we can get some of those people
Are
off
you
their
listening to
duff
RIV again?
and let them, no, I never listen to RIV.
I'm just saying.
No, I think
To
it
come on
makes-
out and help,
I
put your
agree
money
with
where
you.
your mouth is, you wanna
know,
talk
Tim, I
about it,
think it
be
makes
part of
people
the,
feel better
part of
when
the
they're
answer,
doing
not part of the problem.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea, and I didn't mean that to turn it, but,
And the other thing, I don't know if you said it, but I might reach out, you could reach out to the churches.
we did, we sent a letter to every church, and we got representatives
What do we
coming on the
have?
floor.
Oh, Railroad Avenue,
We have
cool.
police
This is-
and justice court right
this
here
is-
on this.
No.
This area is, I'm just presenting to, yeah, I just gave you a picture, do you have it?
No, she doesn't share with me.
I had them all.
So this is an area that obviously needs to be spruced up over here, the railroad station here. And I know that you're having the concerts right down the block, starting
Yes.
on July 5th.
Sixth.
Sixth. So we're really just trying to clean up this area here, so if we could get maybe some help from the anti-litter committee, we've been working with the MTA, so the area right here where you see the brown by the trees, across from the, stores that are there, we're going to set a cleanup day, we're just waiting to find out,
All around this parking area here?
all around the parking area, but we're gonna revegetate this area here, right where you come off from the train.
Across from the loose caboose.
Yes, across from the,
Where-
Well, that's where
Where
they,
you wait,
where
in
the
the
station is.
enclosure
Yes.
to wait for
Where the
the
station
train,
Yeah.
that
So-
area there.
so
whatever you plant there, better be good for uric acid, that's what they're saying.
well, we'll do
Yeah,
get
well,
high
we're
acid
gonna
plants.
put a stop to that, we're gonna watch them on
Well,
camera.
the cameras are going in, the benches have been moved, by early fall, the MTA is coming in, they're redoing the, waiting stations to make those plexiglass clear, so you can see through, so we'd like to have it visible, so that's why we wanna work on some of the, trees here. The benches have been removed from in front of the train station, they've moved over, to the side. We're working with, Suffolk County and MTA to move the bus station further west and put 2 shelters over there, so, and.
Further west, like,
On
Down
Cedar
towards the
Street.
parking lot,
Down to,
down
down,
here.
so where the railroad parking is there, so the handicap would stay, but then the cause I know originally there was a problem with the buses, they wanted to change the route a little bit, it added
Yes.
a couple minutes at about $20,000. So this doesn't change anything with the bus, it's the same way the bus travels, it will just be further west from the train station. So we'll clean up the area so you can walk from the train
Really?
station over to the bus.
Nice.
And put the shelters there, and then this way, as downtown becomes revitalized, the buses will be there, and they'll probably end up with two buses, because sometimes you have one bus pulling after the other. It would allow the two buses to pull in at the same time.
Well, I have a database,
Pull into those parking spaces?
The parking spaces would be removed.
yes.
And they would access the parking spaces across the street from the train, or we're trying to make this, a walking area also, so, people from downtown that need to take the train, it would be a walk up to the train station.
So this parking lot is pretty full when the courts are in session, so I know
But I've been
people.
there's only ever 2 or 3 cars parked right
Yeah, I
here
was gonna
for
say,
the
if
train
you knew what they-
station. So
right.
there'll probably be 4 spots left, we wanna keep the handicap spots there, there'll be about 2 there, I have to go out and measure it, they need like 115 feet. I think that's anywhere from 15 to 17 parking lots, there's 21 spots there.
Yeah.
I've been out there every day, there's only ever 2 to 3 cars parked there, that's
Right.
it.
There's not,
and
that's
it-
very true, there's
yeah.
not. The ridership
So-
is not good.
Yeah, and this way then, like I said, just visually clean up the area here to make it more appealing. The MTA is putting out an RFP for someone to come into the train station. They're coming, they will be painting and repointing all of the columns there. And then we're looking also to create, more of a walkable atmosphere from the train station.
Well, I have a
into
database,
downtown on-
I have a database of people that I've mailed all letters to already that have responded.
Okay.
I'll generate a letter today.
Okay.
Get that out, all announcing
Let
that
me
we're
just
gonna have
get
a
the
cleanup
full,
day.
let me get,
Let's pick a day.
well, let me pick the day, so what we can do is we can do the cleanup and the planting, maybe all on the same day. And,
right.
and so it would be, more of a,
You're right.
just more hands.
And you had said before, but
Be
the
nice
Farm
if it was before the
Bureau's,
series started.
the Farm
But
Bureau's
there's only a couple
going
weeks away.
to help getting some plants and such, right, Laura?
Yeah, the Farm Bureau has agreed to, provide us with whatever we wanna plant there. I'm just waiting, I just wanna talk to a
No
gardener first.
bamboo.
No.
There you go, some running.
I just wanna talk to a gardener first, because this is obviously, a dry area here, so I just wanna make sure planting plants that will, and shrubbery or whatever we put in there, that will be sustainable.
I'm just concerned about losing that parking, especially if the MTA is putting out an RFP so that this building gets occupied with a store such as a Dunkin' Donuts and what have you. Because this parking lot right here was a requirement of our agreement with the county to provide parking for the courts.
Right.
So I'm just concerned about this area now missing parking when this building does get occupied and when other things start getting cleaned up in the area, and that's all. I don't
hear your
understand why the
concern.
buses can't just pull straight in front of those spots and like block those spots temporarily while people are getting on the buses.
Because then you're blocking the
Well, you don't
road.
want a loading and unloading zone.
Yeah, you don't wanna,
active
and you
parking
need
lot.
to be able to have access to the shelter, you still need handicap access in
People
and
line
out.
up, then they're lining up between parked cars to get on the bus,
I'm
that's.
just concerned about losing those parking spaces, especially if that building gets occupied, that people are
I
gonna be.
agree with you, but I think temporarily, for the time being, until that happens and until we get an increased schedule of trains coming out here.
That's not gonna happen either.
I think that's the area we should use, because all it does is create a hangout and a loitering place at the
The
station.
only way you're gonna get
itself.
increased trains is if you have
And then
increased
people
ridership, and
people
that's not
coming
happening.
actually out of the train station are now crossing in front of buses also.
Benches to here.
You know
Yeah.
what, I'm excited, cause I think it's really important that we get into this area and get stuff going on it, and
Yeah.
actually, I know the person you're dealing with at the MTA's been really helpful.
Yeah.
And it's
Vanessa
kind of
Lockel? Yeah,
It's
she's
kind of
great.
exciting that they're coming that day, you don't have the date, right? They're just gonna come one day and they're gonna get everything done in one day, I think.
Yep, and then we're
It's
also.
a cool looking building, I think.
Oh, I
It is,
know.
a lot of
It's-
history to that building.
It's a beautiful station there, and then we're also working with the Department of Social Services and with the police department, because we do realize that there is an issue here, with people hanging out at the train station. So actually, just today, the police department and the co-unit and the chief of police, as well as the Department of Social Services, and forget the other department, John, who was the other department? It was for, I forget who it was, but they all have gone over to the train station today to be able to figure out if there's somebody there that needs to support or help, how to be able to do that too. So it's not just that we're moving benches and telling people we don't want you here, it's also to provide what we need to provide.
And if we just had a bulldozer come in and go from Cedar East
Oh, you're
on the
rough
south
today.
side.
Well, you would get that if you put a police and justice court right at this whole thing and had them build the parking garage on
Well,
the
I-
second, third, and
Now,
fourth floor, but.
Is she gonna come out one day and
RFP.
meet with you and look and,
Vanessa?
yeah,
I've met with them, I've met with
At the
MTA,
site?
yes, MTA, the Long Island Railroad, we've actually had the Railroad Museum come with us also, because there's a lot of trains that are here. I understand the trains that are part of the Railroad Museum, but we're also housing trains from other railroad museums here. I feel that if other railroad museums would like us to house their trains here, before they come here, they should either be fully restored, or they should only come here when they have the funds to restore them, and not to have them sit here and wait for them to have enough money to do that. So I don't think that we should be the, storage here, like I said, unless they actually have been restored and need to sit here. So
I agree with you, but
that's
if I-
also a conversation that we're having.
Push
Well,
back on
I
it.
can tell you
I
that
agree
these,
with you.
these
But that's
parcels,
why we
there's
had the
seven,
Railroad Museum come.
there's 7 parcels over here on the between Cedar and Griffin and Railroad and Court. And I know they are being purchased by, piece by piece, so I think eventually you're gonna see some massive redevelopment in
I
this area.
agree with you, I think so too. I
And
think Richmond
just
Realty
for
has a
clarification,
majority
railroad
of it.
stations throughout the country have always been magnets for nothing to do, let's hang around. So it's not just Riverhead that's indicative to this,
No, it's not.
it's
You're-
all
you're
over the
right,
place.
you're right.
So,
Yeah, but
This-
if you notice on the Long Island Railroad, because I take the train into the city quite a bit, but if you notice that
I know, we heard.
what's getting built up right next to the train stations is apartment buildings and retail uses so that people can go in and out,
Well,
so.
TODs, right. But TOD it's kind, and I believe in TODs, but I don't think Riverhead has the ridership to justify that. That's the only problem, and I don't think you're ever gonna see that.
Well,
I think what you'll see is that from Yaphank to Greenport, you're gonna see the Long Island Railroad privatized and have shuttle buses and shuttle trains and stuff for tourism more than, I bet the LIRR will eventually annex that whole thing to private.
Well, I think in the here and now, we certainly can do what we can do with what we have to spruce this up and to
Oh, yeah.
revitalize it
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
beautification.
I got my
So
rake
I
and gloves,
think-
let's go,
I think
right now.
that's our start, and then as other things develop, we'll ease into those.
you know what, it's.
Got a special vest for you.
It helps our town image, really, but back to this building, I know they're coming and they're gonna clean up and they're gonna paint, but I mean, after we talked, I went over there that day. If somehow they could
building?
blast, the station itself.
Okay.
The brick itself looks
Yeah, they're gonna
in bad
repoint it.
shape, I
She
don't know
says
if
Well,
we
that's,
could do something.
that's repointing, so what they do is a lot of the bricks are crumbling, so they'll
Right.
either pull out the bricks that are crumbling, put new bricks, or they'll fix those bricks, and then it's all the cement in between, that's the repointing.
All the
So
trim needs to be painted, and even there's like 2 windows up top that are like blocked off, it looks
Looks
terrible.
Attic,
That's
yeah.
that's what they're coming to do to repair all that. They said we're on the list early, but hopefully it will be before early fall, but we're at the latest early fall, and as we said, there's 4 cameras going up there that will be monitored also. So I
Good.
think that's an improvement also.
Good.
So, that's what's going on over there.
I'll make it the Whistle Stop Cafe, you watch.
You know, as long as it stays open and
Well,
it's
that's all I think.
there,
It's
and we
gotta
have
stay open for
some lights
bathrooms,
on,
that's why
and
people
people
aren't
going in and out, I
That would
think
be cool to have a
will be an
whistle stop
improvement.
cafe.
All right, so if I can have a first and a second to go into an executive session for Channel 22 contract changes, litigation, pending litigation in the matter of the Town of Riverhead versus Plaza Auto, Town of Riverhead, Suffolk County IDA, Suffolk County Community College Culinary Arts, pending litigation in the matter of the County of Suffolk and Suffolk County Comptroller versus the Town of
Town of
Babylon.
Bob?
Blah, blah.
Babylon.
Babylon. First and second,
Seconded,
all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Round table.
Jean Paul.